My name is Bilde. I'm working as a creative producer and director at Iron Films. And today I'll talk shortly about introducing Iron Films and how we started using motion control and how we use pre-production to prepare for those motion control shots and how we got into virtual production. And my overall topic of this presentation is about pre-production. And I'm going to throw a lot of visualizations at you. I'm not going to pronounce the full word from now on. I'm just throwing vizzes at you all. So a pitch visualization, a budget visualization, a pre-visualization. Oh, I'm not going to say visualization, I'm going to say vizzes. So an attack viz and a stunt phase. And after that, I'm showing a result. I'm going to tell all these steps through a production we did for Media Monks, or actually two films that we created. And after the shoot, I'm going to show you a bit about the post-production, showing you the full results, and ending up with a conclusion. And I also have gifts. Iron Films. We started in 2019 as a motion control partner for production companies. And we use industrial robots like these to control cameras and practical effects for commercial productions. And we program those robots using Maya animation software. And we do this ahead of production. We first get a virtual replica of the film set. It can be a scan or a model version into Maya, and we drag cameras in this scene. And we render pre-vizzes to send to client, to send it back and forth, iterate to get the desired motion. And when that is done and approved, we are 90% done for the shoot. We only have to add certain focus points and the robot is set. That saves a lot of time on productions because time is your biggest enemy. This was my business card from 2019 and it says, "We'll fix it in pre-production" on the back. We were having this slogan from the start and we already knew that this preparation saves time, let the client knows what to expect. Well, a lot of advantages. Yeah, my colleagues all have cool virtual production images on the back now, but I'm still stuck with this Cinebot. I have plenty still, so you all can have one after this session. Yeah. Then 2020 came and COVID hit. And all of our productions got cancelled all of a sudden. So for us, this was actually a blessing in disguise, because we finally had time to develop all the things that we wanted to do and we didn't have time for, especially virtual productions using real-time graphics and for us then TV screens. And we used our robot to track the camera, because in a motion control, we pre-programmed already the path of the camera, so we didn't need trackers at that time. And we just used a large TV to show the content in real time. And this is the test that we did with the TV. And we usually do these camera pull-outs or pack shots inside studios for production companies, and we thought, let's do it with a TV and mimic the set on this TV. That led us to our LED partner, Extreme LED in Eindhoven, and that was our step up to larger volumes. And end of 2020, still in the middle of COVID, we actually wanted to do a test with a larger volume, but then it kind of grew as a full production with more than 20 crew members, all super enthusiastic to join. And yeah, let's have a short look at a part of this production.
Hey!
Well, this is where our virtual production services started. And this is what we learned about producing this way so far, is that in virtual production you often hear that time from post shifts to pre-production. But how can you do this? How can you get all crew members on board using this technology in this pre-production and especially getting budgets already been approved? And what we saw is that it's very hard to find crew members who can also use the Unreal Engine. And we also want to work with the people who can't. So how can we make those crew members also join us? And we thought, why won't we make the Unreal Engine more accessible to all filmmakers? And another challenge we face is that clients always ask, the first question is, how much does a virtual production shoot cost? My question will be always like, okay, but what do you want to create first? Because we have to know what we're budgeting. And to solve this budget versus creative first challenge is to visualizing your budget, not in lists with numbers, but using a budget visualization. And because every production is different, and every production needs a very personal approach, in our opinion, there is no one-size-fits-all studio. So I'm going to dive into these pre-production steps, just globally, and then I'll dive into a production we did, and then you can see examples. We start in an online call using the game engine. We start visualizing right away. We listen to the client, what we need for this production. We scale LED volumes and let the client drag a virtual camera in this setting. So they immediately see what he or she is actually asking and what is necessary to pull off certain shots from a script or a storyboard. Like I said, by using different lenses, they can quickly see if the size of the volume is enough. And our tool will automatically calculate the budget of the LED volume, because that is one of the most expensive pieces of such a production. And these sessions can sometimes even lead to the first previs or pitch phase. And the short brief after this about the story or the film we want to make is enough for us to set up this first previs in Unreal or previs assets. And in the same, we use then the same Unreal project to iterate and update it further on in the process. I'm going to explain you with this project that we did for Media Monks, a co-production, and it was about 2 films, and here you see the 2 scripts. It's about sleep medication. It's not allowed here in Holland, but in the States it's fine. The first script, woman goes to bed, takes a pill, falls asleep, and floats away into dreamland. And the second one was, man wakes up in the middle of the night, takes a pill, and goes back to dreamland. So, super short scripts. But the challenge about these 2 productions was that in the first film, they wanted to have like a magical kind of transition between falling asleep and entering this dreamland. And in both films, they want to have a floating bed. To approach this project, we first made a pitch phase. Oh, hold on. No. The client gave us the storyboard to further explain what the story will be. And by giving this storyboard, it gives us a very clear outline of camera work, acting, props, and set design. And this is enough for us to set up the first assets in Unreal to make a previs. This is about woman goes to bed, takes the pill, and sips some water after. She falls asleep, and all of a sudden, the room ends up to be a cloudy environment. And the client explained to us that once she took the pill, the room needs to dissolve, the bed starts to float, and this cloudy sky appears. The first thing we did was making a pitch phase. A pitch visualization to show our approach on how to make the bed float. And in this render, this is not the animation of the bed itself, it's just to show the range of motion, because in this case, the actor will fall off. But it shows the solution of how could we make this bed float, levitate. And the client immediately saw this solution for that floating bed problem and approved this approach. So we went further into pre-production and making a budget visualization. What is necessary to create those shots? And here we are entering this sandbox. In this case, we were producing in our studio in Eindhoven, but it can basically be anywhere. All we need is a 3D scan or modeled versions of your studio space, and we start building right away. We added some assets that we think we needed for the production, like stage pieces, robots, LED volumes, some studio lights, and of course, a bed. And by doing this session, the client immediately see what is all involved in such a production and why it is necessary to check that with virtual cameras. We know if the size of the volume is big enough, if the client can even afford it. It's also important, otherwise it's stupid to continue. And because that LED volume is such an expensive piece of equipment, it is wise to, here you can add also a skylight to it. So everything extra will increase the budget. And also making it smaller will decrease it. And when this session is done, we can step up to the next phase, and that's creating the previs. Creating the previs is in a different call, preferably with the director and or DP. And on the right, you can see our camera simulator, which can mimic any industry standard camera, lenses, and on the left, you can create your first storyboard versions. And by doing some camera movements and you can change the shot lengths and orders, and you can quickly review it as your previs. And make versions and try again and iterate and play around in the sandbox, because here all your equipment is still for free. At the end, we also know what equipment we need, so there is, again, adding to this budget visualization. And by showing where the cameras are, you also get a good idea what you can do with grip. In this case, we used our motion control cinema robot. We could easily see if the motion was reachable. And when you press show previs, you get your first version of your film. Important to say that a previs is not meant to look pretty, but it's supposed to answer questions. The tech phase. We know what the studio setup will look like. We know what the shots gonna be that the camera, the DP and the director had made. So now it's time to invite all the other crew members to take a look at it and to double check it. And by making 3D versions, we can make floor plans, light plans, where the bed is supposed to be, how we rotate the whole room, where the robots need to be placed to get the certain shots. And if someone is saying like, hold on, there's a hole there, we have to cover it, that's important, and this is not possible, we can still iterate and change it, because there's no problem, because we haven't started building the studio yet, and we didn't start shooting yet. Because we know of how the studio will look like, what shots need to be made, we can animate the camera motions and the bed motion, all ahead of production. And the cool thing is, when we're doing this, and these renders can be shown to the actors, so they know in advance what to expect, and if it's safe, if they feel safe on the bed, if we need to take safety precautions like safety ropes. Meanwhile, we had the environment creation. This was done together with the art director of Media Monks and visual effects teams all over the world. And by updating this project on our server, we could follow the whole process of the production. And this helped to align all these different people from different time zones. And like I said, there was this animation going on, this transition from the bedroom to the puffy cloud. So someone made an animation, we got those tests, and meanwhile we were creating those triggers to synchronize the two robots, this bed animation in Unreal, the light changing on set to get this transition to work out. And meanwhile, we're building the studio. I always tell our clients to push back your production day as far back as possible, just to make sure you got all your your questions answered. Because once you start building such a thing, there's no way back, and mistakes can have catastrophic consequences. But because the pre-viz, the tech viz, and the pitch viz went through all departments, they all had the time to double check it and change it if necessary. So we're good to go. So I love it when a plan comes together. Then we went into the shoot, the production itself. Hold on. Let's go back. We were shooting 2 commercials in one day. That saved a lot of cost of the production for the crew expenses. And because we got this extensive pre-production going on, we could produce it in one day, and that really paid off. And I'm now showing you a short film that Media Monks made themselves about this production. And
once upon a time, in a place not far away, we made a film with bold technology that's brand new, but here to stay. And in telling this story that blends the real and the fantastical, we unlock the incredible potential of Unreal Engine.
So it's a real-time 3D graphic software, meaning you can move in real time inside the 3D set.
It allowed us to upgrade to an unlimited art department with smaller crews accessing more set options and working faster than ever before, changing from blue skies, night skies, cloudy skies, dream skies, all adjustable in the blink of an eye.
So the Unreal Engine allows us to merge the physical set with a digital environment, giving us the best of both worlds.
It's great to see that environment for real, for me as a director, but also for the actors. They can see where they are, they can feel the scene, they can get the emotion right, because it's wrapped around them in a way you can't have with green screen.
Because why settle for reality when you can step it up virtually?
You can have many different sets in 3D on the same place, on the same day. You don't need to travel that much.
We didn't just rely on technology, but also on the talent of our post-production teams working in India and Argentina across time zones and continents.
You need people who are very experienced, you need to have trust in each other, everybody's working on a separate piece of the project, so that's really a collaboration thing. You need to believe in your teams and be well synchronized.
Although it offers cutting-edge possibilities, Unreal Engine was incredibly intuitive to use, pairing seamlessly with traditional practical sets.
I want to explore how far we can bring this technology and really incorporate it into our offering.
And we're not done yet. We can't wait to see what other worlds Unreal Engine will bring us to. The sky used to be the limit.
Yeah, well, you saw already a final shot, but I'll get to that later. There was still some post-production to do. It was a lot shorter, but the post-production still exists. But it went really fast because the color grading was mostly done on set. And the best shots were replaced in the previous edit because we'd done the edit already ahead of production. There was still some visual effects to do because that shot with the robot, we had to remove the arm with some minor rotoscoping. And the end shot was a full green screen shot and had to be composite into the clouds. And after that, it was sent to client for revisions, and I think it was after 2 or 1 revision, it was ready for publishing. So that's how fast it can go. Hold on. I'm going to show you the 2 results. The first film is about the woman goes to bed and with the room dissolving shot. Let's take a look.
When you're ready to drift off and leave the world behind, reach for Unisom Restorative Sleep, a drug-free solution that supports your natural sleep cycle with dual-action ingredients. Melatonin to help you fall asleep faster, and a heat-treated probiotic to support your deep sleep over time. Deep sleep is when your body and mind recover from the day's mental and physical activity. A unique blend of 2 ingredients in 1 little tablet. Get the rest you deserve with Unisom.
So that was film 1. And film 2 is about the man who wakes up in the middle of the night.
When your rest is interrupted in the middle of the night, reach for Unisom Return to Sleep. A drug-free melatonin solution that melts away and eases you back to sleep gently. Each strip dissolves quickly and comes in one of 2 flavors, Cool Mint or Midnight Raspberry. Get back to sleep easily with Unisom.
That easy it can be. Just take a pill. The conclusion. We showed the whole process from concept to finish. And that took us 7 weeks in total. You've seen the use of different previses and how that helped departments to align from different time zones in different countries. It was possible to work in parallel. And MediaMonks never had a quickest picture lock from client ever before, just because the client had a very good reference from the previs and knew exactly what to expect. And it even had broken their own record of being 7 times shorter in post-production than their previous visual effects heavy post-production film. And that's how we fix it in pre-production. I also told you about the gift. Here's a link. I was actually planning on releasing it today because I've showed you our tool that we use to make Unreal more accessible for filmmakers. It was supposed to be online today, but apparently because Jules, our coding Unreal programmer, forgot to put the copyright in just one piece of code. It's supposed to be in every single page, but because of that, it's up for revision again. But it's going to happen soon. If you go to this link, you will you can subscribe yourself, and we'll let you know right away when the tool is released. Because we want to share our enthusiasm for using the Unreal Engine for pre-production for all filmmakers. There's also more. We are giving every 1 or 2 months virtual production workshop here at the campus, at the X-Star stage, for filmmakers to get their first experience shooting in an LED volume. And the next one is going to happen on the 17th and 18th of April. It's a 2-day workshop. If you want to join, be pretty fast because there's only 10 spots available every workshop. And I heard that it's already half full. So if it's full, we're going to plan a new one. Don't worry. Right? Well, thank you for listening. Do we have questions?
Thank you for the presentation. Amazing talk. I'm Adrian. I had the pleasure of working on a couple of TV series and films as supervisor the last couple of years. And interestingly, I saw for the motion control robot, you mount the mouse tracker on top. Was this right?
That was back then a Vive controller, yeah.
Ah, okay. Why didn't you, just out of interest, why didn't you feed the data from the motion control robot directly?
We did, and we just used the tracker to also do it at the same time to have more data, because it was still research, and this was actually not meant to show to you guys if I knew it back then. But yeah, there is it's a very, very good scene that there was a Vive tracker on top.
Fine, thanks. Interesting that.
Questions? Hello, I'm Lizzie, and I'm a 3D animator working in games and mocap tech as well. And since my question is probably also slightly related to the games industry, I hope it's still slightly relevant.
It is.
But your quote of "we fix it in pre" is really what stuck with me, because I really cling on to the "we fix it in post." Because as an animator, I think we're very focused on the end result, tweaking it as much as possible at the end. And so I wanted to ask what to you personally is the key element that makes fixing it in pre really outshine fixing it in post, and whether you think putting less budget on fixing it in post and really focusing on the pre kind of limits the freedom of changing the creative direction or the story or a visual aspect of the project later on?
Well, to answer your question, I think post-production is such an invisible part of the budget. If you're fixing stuff, that means that you have unforeseen problems along the way, and fixing those can be quite expensive. And in a way that a lot of the budget has to be fixed when you're gonna start. How much budget do you leave behind for fixing your problems? And it's always better to overcome your problems than to be fixing those. So yeah, I think that could answer your question. No.
Hi. So it's really interesting, except for the tool that you're then also gonna provide, it's the process itself that matters. So I have a mindset that is more oriented towards the worst case scenario. So this case scenario was wonderful, like 7 weeks, everything was wrapped up and serviced. But what happens if something instead doesn't go as planned? Like how well this process is able to reiterate on the past steps to be able to adapt quickly to any new challenge?
Well, first of all, for instance, we're not going to build this studio if everyone approved. That helps. And to be a bit flexible on when to produce also helps. It's not always that you have this freedom to just pinpoint like, oh, let's produce tomorrow because now we're done. You always have a time schedule, but to know this, that's the moment that we want to produce. Check your stuff ahead of time, because now is the chance to change things. If we build it, then we're gonna fix it in post if we face problems. But yeah, we have to align all these people who work on the same project and let them know that once they approved it, then there's no way back. So that is one of the major steps you do. Okay, this is the moment, and after that, we continue. And by working parallel, you can all get together once in a while, and by using, for instance, multi-user sessions, you go all in one place and we check them all. We have a list. This is approved. Do we know how the lighting plan will be? What is necessary to rent? What do we have? Is necessary to prepare? I hope that answers your question.
Hi, Philippe from Ready Set again. Can you tell me something about the pixel pitch, CRI values, and nits of your panels?
In detail, I'm not an LED operator. Our pixel pitches that we have 260 square meters of 2.9 that we can use. There is almost 300 of 3.9. And the color depth can scale up from 10-bit to 12. Does that help?
And the nits, do you know the nits as well?
No, I don't know the numbers exactly. That's something that I have to look up and check with my technical guys. I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you.
Any more questions? Oh.
I'm just curious, why you put the bolts under the bed, and you were working as a virtual studio, so you had the complete control to move the background, but you kept the background static and you moved the bed. You obviously had production logical reasons to do that. What was the reasoning behind that?
One of the reasons was that the shot started with the close-up of the actor, and it was pulled out. And meanwhile, this pulled out, the parts in the bed needs to start floating. Just a question.
The background could have started floating.
That could, yeah, I don't know.
It would have been a lot cheaper, right?
Well, because we're working with robots, this was our solution for the moving the bed, and we just wanted to move the bed, I think.
Okay, thanks.
Any more questions? No? Okay.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ben.